friends, and welcome to episode 115 of Did You Bring the Hummus podcast. I'm Kimberly, your host, and I am super excited to be here with you today. Did You Bring the Hummus is a podcast for all things vegan. Episodes post every Monday on your favorite podcast app. Before we get started, I have one very important question for you. Did you bring the hummus? Do you love the podcast? Want to help me keep it going? Visit the Support the Podcast tab on my website to learn more. Join me on alternating Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern for an hour of meditation. Sign-up options include individual sessions, a monthly subscription, or a 10-session package good for 6 months. I have joined forces with Jennifer Shlomovich of The Confident Vegan to bring you the next great thing in morning TV, That Vegan Morning Show, which airs on YouTube every Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern. Join our mailing list and get a free recipe ebook of some of our favorites. Today, I am joined by Animal Communicator Clare Metcalf. Clare was formally trained in animal communication, or rather, as she says, reminded of her innate abilities, by world-renowned animal communicator and author Amelia Kinkade. 20 plus years later, Clare has become the first and so far only UK official Language of Miracles certified interspecies translator, i.e. animal communicator. At this time, only one of 4 globally. Over the years, Clare has developed her own style of communicating with all forms of life at a deep soul level, having trained with many teachers and traveled to spend time with shamanic workers, indigenous teachers, and storytellers. Though, she points out, the wisest teachers have always been the animals themselves. At the end of 2024, Clare published her first book, Conversations with Bentley, the Cosmic Conservationist Cat, a 12-year journey of communications with a black cat in heaven, his messages to his mom about everlasting life and love, advice on living your truest life, and his concern for conservation and the planet. Clare's dream is to enlighten all animal lovers with regard to animal communication, or interspecies telepathic communication, and to provide practical help, advice, and guidance to enable all species to live together in harmony. And if you want to learn how to do it yourself or relearn how to do it yourself, please check out one of Clare's workshops. Hey, Clare, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this conversation. What you do is so interesting to me. So I cannot wait to get into all of that. But first, I'm going to slow down and I'm going to ask you to please share your vegan journey.
Sure, yeah. Well, it began as, I think a lot of people, it began with vegetarianism first, because you kind of think you're doing your bit by being vegetarian. And then, the longer you're vegetarian, the more you realize, no, actually, I should be doing more. And there's more that I can be doing. Because for even when I was veggie, I wouldn't wear fur or leather and so it was additional stuff, and that began probably over 30 years ago when I was training to be a homeopath. It just kind of made sense at that point because I was already kind of going against the grain by being a homeopath rather than anything else, and then I kind of just gradually eased into veganism because it just made more sense. Ethically, but also health-wise and everything else as well. And then, of course, when I began to learn more about animal communication, and I think probably the more I communicated with different species, the more I realized, we can't be doing this. Mm-hmm. We can't. It's up. It's one of those things. And to this day, sorry, I still get surprised that I have the odd student who will say to me, so are you vegan then? And it's like it's only just occurred to them. And I always say to them, but, from my point of view, I can't eat somebody I could have a conversation with.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Having said that, if I was in desperate straits and I could, and I had a choice of eating a human, who I can have a conversation with. because presumably they can give their consent or not. And if they did, that would be fine, but not with an animal. Absolutely not. I don't. And the wonderful thing about that is the more I talk about my ethics and the conversations I've had with animals who could end up in the food chain, the more it sinks in with them without me having to show them horrible videos or, make them feel really bad about themselves. It's like a light bulb goes off and they're like, oh, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Because if I can have a conversation with my friend's dog, but I can also have a conversation with her sheep, there's no difference.
Yeah.
So why would I eat one and not eat the other? And for me, I find that's like a gentler way to ease people in. And then people become enthusiastic about being a vegan rather than, I'm a reluctant vegan because I can't do anything else now. It's that thing about the bees and the bees and the honey and the kindness and all that kind of thing. I'm not one of those, and I've got great admiration for vegan activists. I really do. And I've got friends who do it. I'm not one of those people, because I'm not confrontational. I can't go out and, hit them over the head and say, you're a terrible person for doing this. But just explaining it in a different way that, well, if I can have a conversation with them, they're not going to end up on my plate. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And that then sinks in for everybody else who hears it. And not even to my students even, I might be out with friends from Salsa or somewhere else. And they ask me about my food choices. And instead of kind of going down the militant route, I always explain, well, because I could have a conversation with them or because, I've met them in person and no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. That's amazing and makes so much sense. And then I really like the way that you talked about the joy that comes from it and people are coming to veganism excited about it. I recently met the philosopher Matthew Haltman, and he wrote a book, Hungry, Beautiful Animals. And he talks about the joy, like when we can look ahead at all of the stuff that we can do, the things we can eat, the clothes we can wear, and see it that way versus, oh, I can't eat that. I can't do that anymore. That joyful approach is so much more exciting. And like, why wouldn't we want to live in that space? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you tell people about all the accidentally vegan things that they're already eating, they don't realize they're eating foods. And then it becomes, okay, so I can probably do this. If I'm already doing it halfway anyway, then you just tell me about the other products I can get and we're sorted, really. And obviously it's so much easier than it was 20 years ago when when I was kind of transitioning between 30 to 20 years ago. And it was so much harder then. And it did feel like, you were really doing something noble for the animals. It's just like, well, why would you not? Because I can enjoy exactly the same meals as everybody else, but without feeling dreadful because, I could be having a conversation with the contents of my plate.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Claire, what an incredible way for people to visualize really what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about like what does it mean to be an animal communicator?
It's just, for me, it's just an everyday thing and it's something I've done forever. And I think all animal lovers relate to this a little bit, that when we were children, we had no doubt that animals communicated with us. We spoke to one when we still do. If you live with a cat or a dog or a horse or whatever, you still use verbal language with them. You still communicate with them. It's the bit that's missing is you've forgotten how to hear the responses. So I've kind of done it forever. And I was one of the lucky ones that whether I was indulged or whether it was just my parents had given up trying by the time I came along. But it was again, my parents didn't say to me, don't be ridiculous, animals don't communicate. It was never really knocked out of me in the way that it is for many kids. And I mean, let's face it, Disney would not be a multi-billion-pound industry without talking animals.
Yeah, that's true.
And all kids believe it. All kids believe it, and it's just natural. But then you grow up and you're expected to learn non-verbal communication. You've got to learn to write. It is verbal. It's not telepathic anymore.
Yeah.
You've got to learn to write, you've got to learn to speak, you've got to communicate in a different way. But as children, we don't have that. All we have is telepathy. And that's how mothers and babies understand each other. You know, when a mother takes her child to the emergency room and says, my child is sick, and the doctors say, well, we've run all the tests and there's nothing wrong. But the child gets more sick because the mother was right and nobody listened. And we all do it with our animals. You will know someone who has gone to a vet with their animal friend and said he's sick. And I don't know what it is, but there's something just not right with him. And again, the vet will run the tests, might do some x-rays or whatever. We can't see anything, therefore there is nothing wrong with your animal. Animal gets sick and you're like, yeah, I knew there was something wrong. If we trust that instinct, we can then develop it further into actually hearing the language of animals as well. So it's kind of, for me, it's just an everyday thing. I live with cats. We have conversations, we have arguments, we have negotiations. As you can imagine, they usually win the negotiation because they're cats. But yeah, I didn't have a name for it, and I didn't do it in the way that I do it now, because as I grew up, you kind of suppress it because you realise nobody else is doing this.
Right.
Nobody else has just heard what that horse said in the field. Okay, maybe I'll not talk about that then, you know, because you get to teenage years, you want to be accepted, you don't want to stand out from the crowd, all of that kind of thing. And then literally for me, it was I read a book and I identified so much with the author of the book and her journey to where she got to be an animal communicator. And I just thought, well, my journey is very similar to yours in many ways. So why are you doing what you're doing and I'm not? And I want to be doing what you're doing. And then I was just blessed because she came over to the UK. She taught a course. I attended it. I then ended up being her assistant for the next 8 years, every time she came over to the UK. And it just took off from there. But I think it was because, yes, I had an element of self-doubt the first course I went on. I think everybody will. You turn up and you think, I'm going to be the only person who can't do this.
Yeah. And
I felt that way because I don't necessarily fit in with the average animal person, because I knew this took place in the countryside in Britain, in a place called the Lake District. And I knew it was going to be full of people wearing sensible shoes or wellies. And I don't know whether you have them in the States, but we have these things called barber jackets, which are kind of outdoorsy jackets. And that's not me. I turned up and I probably had sequins on. I didn't have pink hair, I was blonde, but other than that, I haven't changed. And I knew I would be the only, and I did. I stood out like a sore thumb. And that immediately put me on the back foot thinking, oh, like these are proper animal people and I'm not. I'm just an animal lover. And it was a weekend workshop, and as the weekend went by, slowly I started to realise, hang on a minute, all the people who are dressed like that and have that kind of attitude, the dog trainers, the horse trainers, the people who spend a lot of time, their business is about, I understand your animal better than you.
Yeah.
My business is about, you understand your animal, you don't trust that you understand your animal, and I'm here to prove that you do. So it's a different journey.
Yeah.
But as time went on, and the good thing was, because I was trained by Amelia Kinkade, she floated into the room in chiffon and sequins, and I'm like, I'm the only person who does fit in. And that really put me at ease, Had someone walked in, like dressed the same as all these other people, I would have felt much more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And a lot of them looked at her as if to say, well, what do you know about animals? You can't even dress right. And I still get that now. If I turn up to a barn or a stables to communicate with horses or donkeys or whatever, people still look at me like, well, what do you know about horses? But it doesn't bother me. You develop a thick skin very quickly when you say to someone, I can hear what your animal is saying.
Yeah. Yes, I think as you were painting that picture and I could see those people in that space with you, the feeling that I was getting is that people, and not all, of course, we're not going to say everybody, but so many people in roles like that, they not only think, like you said, I know your animal better than you do, they also are coming at it from a place of control. How can we make sure this animal fits into your lifestyle and is doing what you want them to do and showing up how you want them to show up, or the way we think is appropriate for a dog or a cat or a horse to behave? And then you come in and you're like, fully respecting who they are, what those animals want, what they have to say, and what a difference in the approach and the thought. And I would imagine that animals would feel you and your energy and be way more interested in having a conversation with you than someone coming at it from that control perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. They're much more respective. They kind of they resonate more with me because I come in from a place of respect. And when I have so many clients who say to me, can you stop my dog doing this? Can you stop my cat doing that? And I always say, no, that's not my job. I can ask them why they do that. And then together we'll work on whether that's an appropriate behavior or not. And it might mean you have to make more compromise than they do.
Yeah.
And it's quite often the case. So when you approach it in that manner, the animals respond so much better because someone is prepared to listen to their side of the story. Instead of me saying, you're doing something naughty and you have to stop doing it.
Yep.
I say to them, okay, so tell me about this. You've peed in the bathroom. What's all that about? And they always have an explanation. It's never, well, because I'm naughty.
Right.
And it's never even, well, because I know it really upsets them. There's no animal wants to upset their human.
Right.
But they always want to give them a message. And if they're not listening and they don't hear the words that the animals are saying to them and they're not picking up the other signs they're sending, what else do you do to get someone to notice you? You've got to do something naughty.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's the only time their human notices them, sadly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's much more important when your animal does something that you kind of expect them to do. You know, like your dog does sit when you ask it to sit. Your dog does fetch the ball when you throw the ball, even though the dog's thinking, why are we doing this again? When they bring it back, it's really important to praise them for that because we forget. It's kind of like, yeah, I expect you to do that because that's what I trained you to do.
Right.
And so when we stop giving them the praise for doing the thing that makes us happy, well, that's usually when they'll decide, well, I'm not going to do that anymore because it seems counterproductive to me. I get ignored more than when I don't do it at all.
Yeah.
We've kind of got our relationship with animals wrong in many respects. And you are so right. It's about control.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, humans were told that they could take control of these animals. And sadly, if you go back centuries, it will have been that some animals decided to cooperate with some humans.
Yeah.
Then they were exploited from that moment on. If you look at indigenous belief from all over the world. I'm not just Native. I spend a lot of time trying to get to know various Native American cultures when I'm in the States, but other countries as well, Aborigines and various other states. They will always talk about the cooperation between the animal kingdom and the human world, and how they would do things together. Like the animals would show them where the water source is, or the animals would protect them and shelter them from the bad weather and all of that kind of thing. And they share that with us. And then immediately we say, okay, well, we want that for ourselves. And if you're lucky, you can share it as well, but we might just leave you outside now, because this is for us now. It's all the wrong way around. It really is. And so really for me, my job is about kind of redressing the balance on behalf of the animals, you know, especially the ones who are expected to work as well. Like, if you expect them to work, they want more than just, well, there's your food at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I would want more than that.
Me too.
And again, you know, when you think about the cooperation with something as big as a horse, who could easily kill you.
Yeah.
And yet they kind of like, no, okay, I'll do this because it's what you've asked me to do. And we're not nearly grateful enough to these animals for anything they do for us.
There are so many.
What I'm all about.
Yeah, I love that. There are so many times we live with 3 cats now. There's so many times where my husband or I will turn to each other and go, we don't deserve cats. Like, you know, human and not even just, and we think that we're pretty good cat guardians. Yeah. But people as a whole, I think very often we don't deserve animals because we're just not giving them the respect and the understanding that they are equal to us. We are not above them, you know.
And you know, when you break it down and when you do communicate with them, what you realize very quickly is they have so much more wisdom than we do. So much more. They've held on to all the ancient wisdom that we had at one point. As humans, we had access to it as well. But for some reason, humans gave it up and handed it to people who would then charge them for it. You know, like the medicinal plants.
Right.
Like, how many of us know exactly what plant we need to make us feel better? We all used to know it. We all used to know how to find them. And instead, someone said, well, I can do that for you, but, you know, you'll need to pay me for it.
Yeah.
And people said, yeah, fine, you do that. And we handed all of that control for our health to other people.
Yeah.
And it's the same with every other aspect of our lives. We've handed it over to someone else and we pay them for the privilege to access information that actually we've always had access to. And the animals still have access to it. And that's part of the work that I do is, I don't like to say educating so much, but it is telling people what animals know that we've forgotten. And they're so wise, but they're not pompous about it.
Yeah.
I always say, because there are people who claim to channel animals and claim to communicate with animals, that you will have seen them on social media. And you can always tell the difference. If the message sounds pompous, that came from the human.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Very rarely are animals pompous. The occasional cat, yes, I will give you that.
I believe it.
It will say to us, humans are so stupid. You are so stupid. And I'm like, yeah, we are. We absolutely are. And those are the messages I love to pass on the most. Like, how stupid are you? You didn't even work this out for yourself. But when the wisdom just comes from a place of kindness and gentleness and it makes perfect sense, you're not having to sit there thinking, what does that even mean? If you've got to work it out, that's a human who made that up.
Yeah.
But if it makes perfect sense and you're kind of like, you know, I think I've always known that, but nobody's realized it for me. It came from an animal. It absolutely did. The things I've learned from animals, honestly, I could keep you here for 3 weeks just to tell you all the things.
I'm sure.
Probably longer than that, actually. But it's really we have access to that information. We have access to them to learn these things if we're willing to do it. We just need to get back into the frame of mind that says, yeah, I can understand you. I know you live with three cats, and therefore there will be times when you absolutely knew what your cat was trying to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Or you absolutely knew why they were doing a certain behavior, even if at first it doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah.
Somewhere deep inside, you're kind of like, I know what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can, again, we'll use the example, the cat peed in the bathroom. I wonder if he's got a UTI.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Undoubtedly, that's probably what's going on. And it's the only way, because he can't say to you, Mum, it hurts when I pee.
Mm-hmm. I know.
You can't do that. unless you're staring at him 24/7, which yes, a lot of us cat people do.
Right. Yes, you can lose a lot of time just staring at them.
Bathroom time, we do tend to try and give them some privacy. So we're not always aware. And if we don't know, they've got to find another way to tell us.
As we said, I live with three cats, and for the last, and I want to talk to you about this after we're done too. But just kind of as an example, so we live with three cats here, and initially we had another cat, Cookie, who had passed away in 2020, and Gus and Daisy had come in. We brought them in. They had been strays. They weren't feral, though. They really took to us. And then we had another cat named Gemma, who was, we named her Gemma. She was living on our back porch for like a year. She was very wild. She would bring us many dead things. And I had a hard time, like, how do I feel about Gemma bringing me dead animals? But we were able to get Gemma in too, so that she could live with us and stop killing everyone else outside. And everybody got along mostly. The oldest cat, Cookie, everybody kind of was like, she's the matriarch, we'll kind of hang back. But then like 2 months after Cookie died, something happened between Gemma and Daisy. They had a big fight, and they have not been able to comfortably coexist. Daisy's always very nervous when Gemma's around, and Gemma, from a standard human perspective, seems to be kind of goading her and like, oh, are you afraid of me? I'm coming in closer. And we have tried so many things, talking with, cat behavior specialists, and they come up with, use these toys and put them on opposite sides of a door and have them do this maze. And one of the things that we have done, and we still haven't fixed or understood what's happening between the two of them, but my husband and I have tried talking to them, saying like, Daisy, why are you nervous? Gemma, tell me, why do you feel like you need to approach Daisy in this way? And I think maybe we haven't accepted that we could hear them because we're not getting any answers.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing something like this is something that you in your work probably can help people with.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I get called in about all the time. Yeah. And it's for exactly that reason. You're kind of halfway there, you're asking the questions, and when you don't instantly hear a reply, the cats go, okay, so I've told you, you're still not taking it on board, so I'm going to act out even more. But you know yourself, having a husband, it's very similar.
Yes.
You can tell them where something is 1,000 times, and they'll still open a drawer and say, where is it?
Yes.
And you get to a point where you think, I'm not going to tell you anymore. What is the point? So when you find that thing, I'll hit you over the head with it. So imagine it from the animal's point of view, how frustrating it is.
Yeah.
They are giving you the response and you're not hearing it. And the reason you're not hearing it is because you don't believe you can.
Yeah.
And also, all humans have different... We've all got access to what I call the clair senses. So you've heard of clairvoyance and clairaudience, perhaps, and we've got access to all of those. And in all of us, one will be stronger than the others. Obviously, for me, clairaudience, because I'm listening to animals all the time. But it's not the same for everyone. If you're particularly artistic and creative, you might be clairvoyant. And so instead, you ask a question, and if you're expecting to hear a response, but you're not particularly clairaudient anyway, you'll miss the response because the response might come in as an image in your brain.
Right. Okay.
they try to find the best way to get through to you. So you might ask a question, or you might be thinking about your animal, and then you just see an image in your head. And that will be from them. If that doesn't get through to you, they might send you a physical sensation. They might come in from outdoors, and you might shiver when they come in because they're telling you it's cold outside. Or you might get a bellyache after you've just asked your animal, why did you not eat your last meal? And you get a bellyache. But because your brain is already thinking, I wonder if they've got a bellyache, you ignore the bellyache that they sent you because you're kind of like, well, yeah, I thought it might be a bellyache, but I don't believe it came from the animal. They if they're really struggling to come through to you, they might send you the smell of something or the taste of something. That's kind of like the least pleasant part of my job, especially when I'm working with obligate carnivores and I ask them what they're thinking to eat is, I don't want to taste that.
Yeah.
And especially with animals who've been feral. Don't want to know what that tastes like. Thank you very much. Give me the words instead. But they'll find whatever way they can get through to you, whichever is your predominant sense, that's what they'll use. So it might be a case of asking them less important stuff, because this is really important, the stuff that's going on between the two of them. Ask them about something else instead, something that doesn't matter.
Okay.
It could be as simple as you're not going to enjoy it so much, but what's your favorite flavored food? And we've all done it. I know you'll have done this. You'll have had packets of cat food and said, which one do you want today? And you can't tell. You know which one they want.
Yeah.
Right, every single time. Because you know they're going to tell you which one it is. Trust that instinct.
Yeah.
And try it. So try it with the simple things first. Then you can try it with things like, would you like me to brush you? And instead of picking up the brush and saying, I'm going to brush you, and even though sometimes we do that, we pick the brush up and we say, would you like a brush? But then we brush without waiting for a response.
Yeah.
And the cat goes,
I thought you asked me.
So instead, you ask the question when you haven't got the brush in your hand, and you wait to see what the response is. And if they seem amenable to it, yeah, you got your response, you got it.
Yeah.
It's just about patience, and it's very subtle. When you're not trained, when you haven't got, I mean, for me, I do this all day, every day, whether it's with clients or with my own animals or with the wild animals outside, I'm doing it all the time. So I don't need to practice it, but my students need to practice a lot. And they get a lot of practice with me. And they get to practice with species they're not familiar with, because that's important.
Yeah.
Because just like you, people would say that I'm a cat person because I've always lived with cats since I was a small child. So I know a lot about cats. So for me, when I started to get my practice in, it was not with cats. It had to be with species I'm not as familiar with. So I've always loved horses, but I've never had to look after a horse. I've never had all of those additional responsibilities that go with being a horse person. And I don't know horse terminology, which is always hilarious because horse people do.
Yeah.
Horse people, and this was where I was intimidated when I did my first course, because there were a lot of horse people. And so, I might say that horse has got a pain in his left buttock. And people would laugh because there's obviously a better term for a horse's left buttock that I'm not familiar with. Or I would point to somewhere on me and say, right there, I don't know what it's called, but that's where the pain is with this horse. And they would come out with all these technical terms, and I would just feel really useless. But it's a lot of my work is about being really honest with people as well. And so I had to get over that embarrassment and just say, look, I don't know horse terminology, but you and I have the same body. So if I say to you, I've got a pain just above my wrist here, so this is my right arm and I've got a pain just above the wrist. I don't know what that's called on a horse, but you know where it is on your horse.
Yeah.
So you translate that into your horse, that's where the issue is. And that works. And actually, you get more respect from people when you admit there's stuff that you don't know.
Yeah.
So, and I work with so many species. Initially, I thought, God, I'm going to have to learn such a lot of anatomy and physiology. It's kind of like, okay, so I'm working with a giraffe and I've got a pain in the neck. How do I describe that? His neck is so much longer than mine.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to say approximately where it is on my neck. We've got the same number of vertebrae, they're just spaced out a lot more. And the person looking after the giraffe then has to work out where that is on the giraffe, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I didn't learn any anatomy and physiology of other creatures. When you work with reptiles, it's all different inside. When you work with birds, it's all different. So it's pointless me trying to say, you know, like, oh, well, in this in this bird's ovary, or you know, it's different. It's all completely different inside. I don't even bother trying to describe what it is I'm seeing inside. I just know what it relates to in my body.
Yeah.
That's the way that we then work out, okay, what's going on with this animal. So it's being aware when you ask your animal a question, it's being aware of what's going on in your own body as well. Did something just change? Has my body temperature changed? Have I got pain somewhere I didn't have pain earlier? Do I feel actually more comfortable than I did? You know, because if your cats are relaxing, they are experts at relaxing so much better than we are. And if you can tune into that, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And one of the best ways, especially with cats, actually, one of the best ways of really making a strong connection with them is through meditation. And this is when people kind of look at me and go, oh, I knew you'd be one of those weirdos. I knew you'd be into meditation and gongs and funny things. And I'm like, no, I'm just into what the animals are into.
Yeah.
And if you've lived with a cat for even 5 minutes, you know how capable they are to meditate.
Yeah.
They're not always asleep. You know, people say cats are asleep for like, 22 hours a day or whatever.
Yeah.
Not always asleep. And you know that because you just have to open a cat food pouch in another room. And they were sound asleep because they weren't. They were meditating instead. If you can get into a habit of meditation where you completely still the mind, that's when they can sneak through with their information. And you'll often find when people start to learn to meditate, their animals come and join them. They just gravitate in.
Yeah. When I was learning Reiki, Daisy she's very into Reiki, meditation, crystals. She will sit next to certain crystals that she's vibing with. And it is really neat. And she just immediately, I started doing Reiki one day and she was just right there. And then every time I would do it, she would just come and sit next to me or in kind of the bubble. And it was so wonderful. And she's so drawn to it.
And they're always so relieved when we become open to these things because they've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, when you do first hear, I remember the very first time I heard one of my animals and knew for certain that I had was when I was going on this original course. And I said to my cat, Lucy, at the time, who was furious because I was packing a bag to go away. And I said to her, but it's different this time because when I come back, I'll be able to hear you. And she sat up because she was inside the bag and she sat up and she said, well, it's about time. I'm like, yeah, I really need to be doing this course. He's been waiting a long time for this. And I got back and she never stopped talking from that point. She's been in heaven now 15 years and she still never stops talking.
Right. So that's another piece of your work, right? You don't just communicate with those who are still on this earthly plane with us, but you can connect with those that have passed on.
That's correct.
Is that any different in the making that connection, the way between the two?
That is a brilliant question, and nobody's ever asked me that before.
Oh.
And it is exactly the same process.
Okay.
Because people tend to think, oh, you must have to do something different. Do you have to do a big ritual? Do you have to light candles and have an altar? I do anyway, because that's just who I am. I mean, look at me. Of course, I've got crystals and drums and gongs and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, if I'm out on a field visit, I don't have those things with me and I can still do what I do. It's what I like to do because it gets me in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
So communicating with animals, exactly the same as when they're in spirit as when they're alive. It's exactly the same. In many ways, it's easier for me to give people information about their animals and spirit because I can't see them move.
Mm.
I've got a still photograph of them. They no longer inhabit a body. So when I can tell them about the body they did inhabit and maybe some of the conditions that they had when they were alive before they crossed over, that I wouldn't have access to, I wouldn't know that information.
Yeah.
So they will sometimes tell me, like, my legs work properly now.
Oh.
When you return to spirit, you don't actually have a body, but because they're human, only ever knew them with a physical body, they give me information that relates to it. Because if I'm just going to describe this will-o'-the-wisp that doesn't need to have limbs or anything anymore, it doesn't make sense to the person who just wants to know, did little Bobby make it to the other side okay?
Right.
And is he okay now? They want to know little Bobby's legs work properly now.
Yeah.
So he will tell me those kind of things, but then he'll tell me about when he's been to visit and what he's observed happening at home since he left, because people need evidence. Because it'd be so easy to just work with animals and spirit and just tell people what I know they want to hear. Yes, he's fine. Yes, he arrived safely. Yes, he's surrounded by angels and all of that kind of thing. And it is a comfort, but long term, it feels nice when you hear it, but then you think about it and you think, but actually that could have been any animal you were talking about. I feel the same about like a lot of psychic mediums, not all of them. I know some good ones, but everybody has an elderly man in spirit who might have the letter J in their name. I want proper evidence. I want things that people can go, how could you possibly know that?
Yeah.
So if I'm working from a photograph, so I know we're not on screen, but I'm going to show you there's a photograph here of a dog. That dog is not moving. That dog is just sitting there. Looks like a very nice dog, very pleasant, happy dog. But that's as much as I can pick up from that picture. That dog could have 3 legs for all we know, because you can't tell. Just his face. If I can say to somebody, he's now got 4 legs again. Your dog only had 3 legs in life, but he's now restored and he's got 4 legs. How would I know that?
Yeah.
When I'm working with clients, I say, don't give me information. Don't tell me how they passed. Don't tell me what their habits were. Don't tell me who their best friends were. That's my job.
Yeah.
Because I want, when we finish the call, I want you to be able to go away and go, that was definitely my animal she was talking to.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to think, yeah, but you could have said that about any cat or any dog. It's got to mean something to them. So they might talk to me about animals they've met on the other side, who I don't know anything about them because I've only got one picture of one animal. They might talk to me about humans they met on the other side. I'm always less keen. I've got no interest in talking to animals, to humans in spirit.
I totally get that.
Not my interest at all. However, if that person can give me something absolutely concrete to confirm, well, my dog has to be with them because you knew nothing about that person, that's fine. I'll allow them to come through for that little bit of information. And for some people, you've probably done it yourself. When your animal crosses over, if you have someone really important to you in spirit, you will probably ask them to take care of them for you.
Yeah.
Like I would always call for my dad and say, just make sure they're all right till I get there. Will you look after them for me? If I can describe somebody's dad and say he's looking after them, then that brings double comfort, if you like.
Yeah.
But it's not my job to connect with their dad.
Right.
Just connect with the dog, and if the dog happens to be with the dad, brilliant. But when they're in spirit, they'll not only give you that reassurance that yes, it's definitely me and I'm definitely okay, but they can give you life advice. because they can see things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So I've had animals tell me, like my mum's going on a journey. She's gone to some place, which again I wouldn't know about.
Yeah.
And she's only able to do that because I'm not there in the physical form anymore, so she can travel.
Hmm.
But tell her, because I'm not in a physical form, I can now travel with her too.
Oh,
So, yeah, exactly. They can do that. They can go anywhere with you now, whether
that's
you want
true.
them to or not. Not just to the bathroom, but other
Yeah.
places. But it is a big part of the work that I do is working with animals and spirit. I think because of the joy that it does bring people and the comfort that it brings,
Mm-hmm.
I love to do it. Some people not so keen on working with spirit, that's absolutely fine. I
Yeah.
work with a lot of health issues because I don't mind feeling it personally, because you've
Mm-hmm.
got to feel it to be able to tell someone,
Okay.
I've got a bellyache or I've got
Right.
earache or those kind of things. And you will feel it. I say this to my students, you will feel what's going on with the animals so that you can tell they're human what's going on with them.
Mm.
And so people don't like that. They don't
Yeah.
like that aspect of it. I think because I'm a homeopath and we have to know a lot about what's wrong with you to be able to prescribe. Like
Mm-hmm.
if someone says to me, I've got a pain in my knee, that's not like a doctor would say, okay, so take some anti-inflammatories. That will work. I want to know, what kind of pain is it? Is it
Mm.
is it a sharp pain? Is it a dull pain? Does it throb? Does it stab? Those kind of things. I also want to know what was happening before it started. I want to know what makes it feel better, what makes it feel worse. And I use that training with the animals as well to get
Mm.
more information so that we can help them. And amazingly, it's not amazing actually, but they always know what will make them better as well.
Mm.
I never prescribe for them because surprisingly, not always, they don't always want a homeopathic remedy. And so they might say, I actually need a particular crystal.
Mm.
And when you look up the properties of that crystal, it absolutely fits the symptoms that they've got. They might ask for a herb or a plant in the field that they're living in. They might ask for some Reiki or some other form of a physical therapy like osteopathy. And they always know what's available to them as well.
Mm.
I was once working with someone's dog. I think it was a dog. And this was in America. So I'm in the UK. I'm working with a client in the States, and the dog says, I need a particular form of acupuncture.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, I don't even know if it's legal in the state that you're in, because I know it's different from state to state. And this person said, my sister is an acupuncturist.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, okay, this dog's going to get sorted then.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. They know what's available to them and they know what will make them better.
Mm.
They know far better than we do.
Yeah.
And they can tell us if they're on a medication that doesn't agree with them. They tell me what ingredients in their food doesn't agree with them.
Mm.
So, and that's really important because sometimes all it needs is a change in the food. But if you don't know what ingredient,
Right.
you might spend a lot of money trying lots of different foods, but they've still got the same ingredient in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for an example, my little Barney, I have always volunteered with animal rescues, and I volunteered with a cat rescue. And Barney came in as the woman. He was 8 weeks old, and she just found out she was pregnant.
No.
He's gonna be much bigger by the time your baby comes, and they can grow up together. But whatever, her loss, our gain.
Yeah.
And he came home, and the very first night. And I'd watched him at the rescue eating the same as all the other kittens and all the other mummies and everybody else. And he came home that night and he was sat actually on my lap, and he turned around and he looked at me and he said, I'm allergic to wheat, you know. And we had two other cats at the time who ate anything. And I was like, oh, we've now got to start looking at grain-free. And he was absolutely right, because if he steals his brother's food, he gets sore eyes, he gets sore ears, he gets irritable. And I'll say to him, but you know why? And he's like, I know, but it's so delicious. Just like with us,
I was just
we're
going
often
to say.
addicted to the things that are really bad for us.
Yeah.
Animals are the same. But he was honest enough to say what that thing was. And I did say to him, brought it on yourself, because if you hadn't told me, it might have taken a while to work it out. It can make such a difference to an animal's behavior, you know, when you've got a reactive dog, perhaps. It's I see lots of people, on social media, they're in a particular animal type group, and they'll ask a question. My dog is reactive. What should I do? Change their diet, get them on raw, do this, do that. No, my answer would always be ask him.
Yeah.
Ask him why he's reactive. Is it down to his diet? Is it down to his environment? Is it down to the fact that he was attacked before he came to live with you? And he's stuck with bad memories. And because through the training that I had as a homeopath, I kind of work like a relationship counsellor. So the animals can tell me stuff, and it immediately starts the healing process. As soon as you offload that stuff to someone who, and I use person-centered counselling, so I don't give them advice. I don't tell them what they should do. I just reflect it back to them so they can then work out, oh, that's probably why Mummy doesn't like it when I do that. Okay, I'll try a different way of telling her. So when you build up your own skill set, and all my students will be different. Most of them have done some form of healing or Reiki training. The two kind of go hand in hand, you know, like I want to help animals in whatever way I can. Or they might do body work, you know, some kind of actual physical work, and they'll bring that into the mix. If they do a form of therapy, they'll bring that in as well, so that the animals get what they need. And I always believe with my clients, they always get the communicator they need as well. And hopefully they'll get them first time, but eventually they'll get the right communicator, because, you know, I'm not always somebody's first choice, but I'm usually their last choice. That way. They're not going to go anywhere else after that, because I'm telling them too much good stuff from their animals. And that's not me tooting the horn, that's just telling the truth.
Yeah, of course. So you have a book too, right, Claire, called Conversations with Bentley?
That's correct, yeah. And that came about through 12 years of working with a client's cat who I've never met in life. I never got to communicate with him when he was alive. She was what I believed at the time was one of my a regular type of client who came to me and said, my cat has passed away. I just want to know he's okay. But in particular, I want to know where he is and who he's with. But she wouldn't tell me why. And that's fine, because it's not my business. And I communicated with Bentley, who gave me lots of evidence of who he was when he was alive, so she knew I'm talking to the right animal. And then he actually said to her, I'm not with the old folks. Why would I be? They didn't know me and they don't love me and I don't love them. So why would I be with them? Just because someone's dead doesn't mean you've got to be together. Because then heaven wouldn't really be very heavenly, would it?
Not at all.
You end up with people who you love and who love you. And she was kind of hoping he was going to come back to her in another form. Possibly, you know, like in the form of another cat, but would he come back? And at that point he said, no, I can't come back. I've been given a job and I have to look after a little girl who is here. She passed before anybody else in her family, so she had nobody on the other side of life. And so she was appointed this cat to take care of her. Now, if I was a little kid, that's what I would have wanted.
Me too, yeah.
I wanted an animal to be taking care of me. And that was his job until a little boy arrived. And it's not much of a spoiler, but it turns out the little boy had been connected to Janet, who was Bentley's mum, in a previous lifetime.
Oh.
And so he then looked after the little girl, at which point we were thinking, okay, so is Bentley going to come back? Bentley was then given even more important work to do, basically to save the planet.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Bentley.
The big job.
Yeah.
And he's involved in conservation of endangered species. He's involved in planetary stuff. he makes predictions. The predictions, natural disasters, things like meteor showers and things that weren't expected. Different things that, like, and for a long time we just kind of looked at it as coincidences. He would predict something, and then a few months later, either I or Janet would send an email and go, have you seen the news? This thing that Bentley mentioned actually happened. So we started keeping a record of it all. And so over the 12 years, the story has now emerged of all this stuff that Bentley taught us. And he's taught us about how to live a really good and spiritual life, not as in, like holier than thou spiritual, but kind of the way that we should be living our lives. He's taught us so much about how we can help the natural world. He tells us about species that were considered extinct and have now been brought back. And then again, we'll see it on the news a few months later, like, oh, did you see that animal has just kind of reappeared? We know where they were. He tells us so much about life in heaven and about what we get to do when we arrive in heaven and what it means, because it's different for everyone, which I think is a wonderful thing, because my heaven might not necessarily be your heaven. There'll be lots of things we'll have in common, because there'll be lots of animals and they'll all be happy animals. But, there might be other stuff. We might like different types of music, or we might like different environments. Like you might like mountains, I might like lakes, or this ocean. We get to choose, and we get to choose who from our life is part of that when we get to the other side. And if there are people that we didn't connect with on this side of life, or we didn't like, we're not forced to, you must make friends because you are now dead. So everybody has to love everybody in heaven. No, you just don't have to be around them. And it works because if you think about, say, for example, rabbits. For a rabbit, having to share heaven with dogs is probably not heaven.
Right.
So when I've worked with animals who've been in heaven, I don't usually see dogs unless they had dogs in the family that they were friendly with. But I will see lots of other, maybe rabbits or guinea pigs, or and they'll be in an environment that a rabbit would love to live in. And it would not involve Jack Russell Terriers.
Right.
And then, and the same applies to all other creatures. They get to choose how their next existence goes. And when I talk about them being returned to pure energy, that is kind of what happens. But because I am in a physical form and I understand physical form, what they show me takes a physical form. So while their energy, and they can be anywhere at any time. So they can be watching you at home. They can be coming to bed with you at night to comfort you, but they can still be doing their stuff that they want to do in heaven. You're not keeping them from anything. You're not keeping them earthbound, and you're not keeping them attached to you when they should be doing something better. They're able to do all of those things at the same time, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So the book really, I think more than anything, it brings a lot of reassurance to people about life after death, and the fact that animals really do go to heaven, because, some people don't believe that. There are some people who just, it's only for humans. You're not going to be in the same place as me.
Nope, not me either.
But there are some faith teachings that would say to you that animals don't go to heaven, but they absolutely do. So I think the book brings a lot of relief in that respect, and comfort as well, because of the things that Bentley did for his mum from the other side, and the comfort that he's been able to bring her, and still does. I literally just spoke to him yesterday again, because she doesn't want to lose touch with him. And now that he's got his own book out, of course, we keep in touch with him to tell him sales are going and that kind of thing. And how do we market this then, Bentley? So, it was a book I never thought I'd write. But it was a book that kind of wrote itself, because we kept all the notes for the 12 years, like piles and piles of notepads. And it just became, he eventually said, people need to hear my story. They need to hear my words because humans are kind of making too many stupid mistakes with the world, with the environment, with other animals. And they need to start listening to me, basically, was what he said. And who are we to argue?
That's correct.
You've seen his pictures. That is him.
Oh.
You don't argue with a black cat, that kind of determined expression. So yeah, and the people who've read it are absolutely loving it, and they've the reviews that we've had, a lot of comfort for people, and it's kind of opened people's minds to the process of animal communication and what's possible. It's not just about, my dog is sick, can you tell me what's wrong? There's so much more to it than that.
Right.
And you kind of make it the way that you want it to be as a practitioner as well. And for me, I just want to explore every aspect of animal communication. It's more fascinating than communicating with humans. And the other thing that animals always explain to me is animals never lie.
Yeah.
Because we're using telepathy, they can't lie because they can't hide anything. And what animals criticize in us more than anything else is humans have this capacity to lie and to hide things. We you will, again, you'll know yourself. You meet someone for the first time and you think, I don't like your energy. You're saying all the right things, but there's something not right about you.
Right.
You have to trust that always, because that is the old ancient wisdom that we still have. Someone might be telling you something and you know that's a lie. You don't know how you know, but you just know that's not true. What you're telling me just isn't true. As humans, we tend to give people the benefit of the doubt, and that's where we go wrong, because then we get tripped up numerous times. That doesn't happen when you communicate telepathically. It can't. And what animals dislike the most about their relationships with humans is that we are not consistent. And what they want from us is to be consistent between thought, word, and deed. What we do with animals is we tell them what we want them to do. So, for example, you're training a dog and you're telling that dog what you want them to do. But you know they did it wrong the last time you did it. So your brain is thinking, you can't do this, but I'm going to ask you to do it anyway. And the dog goes, you think I can't do it, so I'm not going to do it. We're not consistent. If we want them to do something, we have to believe that they can do it. And we have to give them the appropriate praise when they do. And I see this all the time with horse riders, because, as I said earlier, horses can kill you if they want to.
Yeah.
People, and I've worked with, people who compete on their horses. And one person came to me and she said, there's a particular jump that my horse always refuses. He knocked it once. We both got hurt. He always refuses it. And she said, and I've told him we're not going to get hurt. And I said, well, you can't guarantee you're not going to get hurt.
Right.
So instantly that's a lie. And the horse is thinking, yeah, but it's up to me whether we get hurt or not, actually.
Yeah.
So too much responsibility. What we need to do instead, every time you approach that jump, at the moment what you're doing is you're visualizing the last time you got hurt. You fell off, the horse got injured, the jump was destroyed, all of those things. That's what's in your mind. Your voice is saying, we can do it, we can do it, we can do it. And, and you're trying to encourage them and you're using all the right words. But your brain is going, oh, but the last time it really, really hurt. And the horse goes, okay, I'm not taking that risk. I'm not going to do this jump. Simple as that. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So instead, what you need to do is you visualize the two of you sailing over with inches to spare. Because you can do it. He had done it previously, but then they had this one accident and it all went wrong. So you visualize that. You remind him, we can do it. And I have faith in you that you can do it. And the horse goes, yeah, of course we can do it. And the horse sails over. And I've had riders who were kind of like, we keep getting disqualified and now we're winning trophies.
Like, do horses ever tell you, I don't want to do this? Can you tell them to stop riding me or to stop jumping me? And do their people listen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the majority of people, if someone is going to pay you to communicate with their animal, they're already invested.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
it, not nearly as much as they're invested in their horse, because that's thousands and thousands of pounds. They are invested. And I will say to them before I do take on the work, if it is about something like how they're being ridden or a particular activity they're doing, I will always say to them before I take the work on, what if he doesn't want to do that anymore? What's the situation? Because I'm not going to betray his trust. If he says, I don't want to do this, I have to know that I can go back to him and say, you don't have to do it anymore. If you're just going to say, well, tough, he's going to have to do it, or, well, I'm going to sell him, that's still a betrayal of trust.
Yeah.
I have to know where we all stand before we get started. And again, because people are already kind of invested on a financial level and an emotional level, horse people often don't tell other horse people what they're doing until it's worked. So admit, I've got this woman who's going to talk to my horse. They'll wait until this woman spoke to my horse, and the difference in them is amazing. And then people are interested. So they're already invested.
Yeah.
And then if the animal says, for example, I worked with a horse, his potential in dressage was huge. From his family line, from his training, from his rider, everything. But he kept messing up, and it felt deliberate. So I spoke to him about it, and I asked him what was going on, and he said, the best thing for me, when we go to these events, the best thing for me is when everybody's laughing. He goofs up and he messes up, and the audience all start to laugh, and he is soaking it up. He's like, that's fantastic. And his rider is bright red and she's mortified. And I said, well, that's really not fair. We know you've got this potential. Do you just not want to do it? And he said, well, I know I can do it, but it's boring. Because I can do it and it's easy. And I don't get the same outpouring of love. When you see an animal do that, I don't watch Crufts or anything anymore since I was a kid, really. But, when you hear about the dog that kind of just ran around instead of doing what he was supposed to do, that's the one the audience all takes to their heart, because they're kind of like, oh, he's fantastic. And he was feeling this big wave of love from people because of what he was doing. When he performed beautifully, there's always that little undercurrent of jealousy. You're like, oh, I wish my horse did that. Or, of course, they've won again. Doesn't feel the same to him. The energy's different. So we had to come to a compromise, because obviously she can't afford to just go and buy another horse to do the things that this one's been invested in for so long. And I said, in an ideal world, what would you like to do? And he said, I want to make children laugh. I want to make sick children laugh. Oh. And I said, okay, so if we can make that happen somehow, will you then behave? And he said, if you can do that. So the compromise we came to was he would either be involved in, like therapy for children, that kind of thing. So they're not necessarily riding him or anything, but just being around them makes them happy and makes them smile. And if it's sick kids, so much the better, because he wants to kind of heal them through that love and laughter. And then he will cooperate with the other side of things. And it made a huge difference for him. But I've also worked, I have some because again, I'm not into breeding animals. We've got so many homeless animals but if a breeder comes to me and they want advice and they want help with their animals, I'm not going to turn them down, because it's about the animal for me. And I have had a number of really responsible breeders who come to me and say, say, for example, it's a cat, I don't think she wants to have kittens anymore. Will you ask her if she still wants to breed? And some of them will say, no, I love it. I just don't want to be around the kittens afterwards because they're annoying or whatever. And others might say, no, I'm tired now. I've done my bit and I don't want to do it. Again, I will always ask, okay, what are the repercussions? If your cat says, I don't want to breed anymore, are you going to sell her? Are you, or worse, you know?
Yeah.
And with these people, I would only do the work if they then said, no, she then becomes a pet. She's our pet. Nothing else changes. She just doesn't breed. So we would have her spayed. And that I'm happy to work with people like that. I've even had people who said, will you talk to my stud? Because I don't think he wants to do it anymore. And he didn't. I don't know. I never thought I would come across an animal who didn't want to be a stud, but he didn't. He'd had enough. If people are prepared to do that, then that's great. I will do that work because I'm doing it on behalf of the animal. And as long as I'm working with someone who will say to me, no, that absolutely that's the case, and they keep in touch with me afterwards, so I know that that's the case. If I had any doubt that the outcome for this animal is not going to be good, I'm not going to break their trust. I'm not going to do that. But usually, like I say, if they've come to me, we already know the outcome is going to be okay for this animal. It absolutely is. And the other side of that is I often get called in when an animal is approaching end of life. And usually the question will be, does he need help to leave? Is he ready to go now? Or does he want to continue a bit longer? And in that case, what do we do to support him? And to be given that choice. Humans don't get that choice yet.
No. And
to be able to offer that choice to an animal, because when I'm working with animals in spirit, kind of bringing it back full circle, I'm given one of two questions every single time if I've not worked with this person before. Did I keep him here too long, or did I let him go too early? Because how do we know? How do we know? They weren't able to say, I'm ready. But more often than not, we absolutely do know. If we just listen to our heart, there comes a point where you look in their eyes and you know, yeah, that's the sign. You've told me. And it doesn't have to be a big, extravagant sign. We just know. To be able to ask that question in advance is even more valuable. And I have had animals who will say, no, it's been really good. So let's just end it here because I feel good and this is how I would like it to be. And others who are like, no, there's still, just because I can't run up a hill anymore doesn't mean I haven't got something still to fulfill in my life. Just because I can't climb a tree anymore doesn't mean my time is up. And again, those people, they're not going to ask me the question if they're not prepared to then put the work in one way or another afterwards. So it's just such a privilege. Out of everything I've ever done in my life, this is the biggest privilege, to be able to tell people what their animals need and want from them, and to know that the person is going to respect and honor that. I mean, there's no better job in the world.
No, what a gift. Yeah. What
best job in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it really, really is.
Yeah. Claire, this has been fantastic and so interesting, and just really a beautiful, beautiful conversation.
I do need to apologize because I go off at tangents all the time because something just pops into my head. It's usually one of the animals about, tell this story, tell that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I always feel like conversations here, they go where they need to go, and that's just what needed to happen. But I really have loved speaking with you today. I've got one more question for you.
Yeah. I know what it is.
How does hummus show up in your life?
Well, you and everybody who's listening to this knows, like, the number one thing that us vegans are always offered is hummus. Always. And, there are times I get really bored with it because I'm kind of like, okay, hummus again. Okay, here we go. There's nothing else for you to eat, but there's hummus. Because I'm also gluten-free and I'm allergic to mushrooms. So hummus shows up a lot whenever I'm out. Well, there's hummus. Yeah, there is. Great. So there are times I get a bit bored with it, so I like to kind of mix it up a bit, add some different flavors to it. Like, I love a bit of paprika in it because it just gives it a little bit of heat and a little bit of a change to the flavor. I love to roast cauliflower and then make it into a puree and mix it in together so it kind of becomes more creamy. Oh, it's very, very good. Yeah, and then to have it actually with, like, make a bed of it and then roast the cauliflower in various spices and then lay that over the top. Oh,
Yeah. Wow.
and I also, because I love avocados, see, it's so much easier for you to get hold of good avocados than it is for us over here, because we've
Yeah.
got to wait to arrive from you, and we really do have that very small window of this one is like this is like a turnip, and now it's black.
Yeah.
It's a very, very small window. So when I get a good one, again, to kind of mash it into a bit of hummus as well, just
Mm.
changing the flavor and making it more creamy. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
So good.
Hummus is good, but when it's all you're offered constantly, I like to mix it up a bit.
Yes. Absolutely. As the hummus lady, I will admit I sometimes get bored too.
Well, I can't even eat the pita bread because I can't have the gluten.
Right.
I can't have the pita bread. So it's kind of like, okay, I've just got a bit of hummus.
Yeah, just
I'll
spoon
just
it.
use a finger.
Yeah.
Got nothing to put in there. So if I'm gonna have it, I'm gonna spice it up a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Claire, thank you so much. This has been so wonderful.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it, but it's just been like talking to an old friend. It really
Yeah,
has.
it has.
And I know we've made each other cry with laughter because I can see you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Welcome back. Claire is such a beautiful soul. I've taken her suggestions, and my husband and I are talking a lot more to our cats and trying to remember how to listen. To connect with Claire, visit her website, freespiritualanimalcare.co.uk. You'll find a free ebook on the homepage. Follow her on Facebook and Instagram at Clare Metcalf Animal Communicator, and join her various Facebook groups linked in the show notes. I hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring. Please subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're loving it, please give Did You Bring the Hummus a 5-star rating and leave a review. It's an easy way to keep supporting the show. Be sure to share these episodes with your friends. If you're finding something good here, they will too. If you're a vegan or know a vegan who would be a great fit for the podcast, follow the Be a Guest link in the show notes. Fill out the quiz and I'll be in touch. Get on my mailing list and stay up to date on all things Did You Bring the Hummus? Get more info on how you can sign up for meditation, one of my programs, or to support the podcast via the links in the show notes. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Did You Bring the Hummus, and visit my website, didyouBringTheHummus.com, for more information about me, updates on what I'm working on, new podcast episodes, and all things vegan. Finally, I would love to hear from you. What do you need help with? Is there a topic you want to hear covered on a future episode? DM me on Instagram or send me an email at info@didyouBringTheHummus.com. Thanks for listening.